Hamas has indicated it will be ready to accept a ceasefire agreement with Israel, but stopped short of agreeing to a US-backed offer proposed by US President Donald Trump. Trump said on Tuesday that Israel had agreed to terms for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, during which the US and other parties would work towards an end to the war. Also on the programme this afternoon, child killer Lucy Letby could face more charges after police say they have uncovered evidence of further allegations relating to baby deaths and collapses at hospitals where she worked. The evidence, police say, covers both the Countess of Chester Hospital, where she is already convicted of killing 7 babies and attempted to kill 7 more, as well as Liverpool's Women's Hospital, where she worked previously. And a week ago, Downing Street was warning any Labour MP who was thinking about not voting for the welfare reform that they would never get a job on the payroll. As late as Wednesday, the Treasury insisted there would be no backing down. On Tuesday, Angela Rayner and Liz Kendall were ringing around Labour MPs asking frantically what it would take to secure their votes. In the end, and at the latest moment, the government announced there would be no cuts to PIP for the foreseeable future.
This is STV Lunchtime News with Henry Stewart.
Good afternoon. Hamas has indicated it would be ready to accept a ceasefire agreement with Israel, but stopped short of agreeing to a US-backed offer proposed by US President Donald Trump. Trump said on Tuesday that Israel had agreed to terms for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, during which the US and other parties would work towards an end to the war. On Wednesday, Hamas official Taya Alo-Nuru said the militant group was ready for a serious regarding reaching an agreement. However, he reasserted that any deal with Israel must bring an end to the war in Gaza. He said Hamas was ready to accept any initiative that clearly leads to the complete end of the war. Trump had earlier pushed Hamas to accept the deal in a social media post. "I hope for the good of the Middle East that Hamas takes this deal, because it would not get better. It will only get worse," Trump said. The news comes as Trump prepares to host Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for talks at the White House on Monday. The US President has shown increased interest in a ceasefire and hostage agreement in the region after the US brokered a peace agreement between Israel and Iran. Asked earlier if it's time to put pressure on Netanyahu to get a ceasefire deal done, Trump said the Israeli Prime Minister was ready to come to an agreement. He wants to, Trump said, adding, "I think we'll have a deal next week." A Hamas legislation is expected to meet with Egyptian and Houthi mediators in Cairo on Wednesday to discuss the proposal, according to an Egyptian official who spoke on the condition of anonymity, because he wasn't authorised to discuss the talks with the media. Talks between Israel and Hamas have repeatedly floated over whether the war should end as part of any ceasefire agreement. About 50 hostages remain captive in Gaza, with less than half believed to be alive. Hamas says it is willing to free all hostages in exchange for a full withdrawal of Israeli troops and an end to the war in Gaza. Israel rejects that offer, saying it would agree to the end of the war if Hamas surrenders, disarms and goes into exile, something that the group refuses. The announcement by Trump came as over 150 international charities and humanitarian groups called Tuesday for disbanding a controversial Israeli and US-backed system to distribute aid in Gaza because of chaos and deadly violence against Palestinians seeking food at its sites. The joint statement by groups including Oxfam, Save the Children and Amnesty International followed the killings of at least 10 Palestinians who were seeking desperately needed food, witnesses and health officials said. Meanwhile, Israeli strikes killed at least 37 in southern Gaza's Khan Yunis, according to Nessa Hospital. Tents they are hitting with 2 missiles, as Sef Abu Leda, whose son was killed in the strikes. Mourners threw flowers on the body bags. Before Trump's announcement, Israel's defense minister Israel Katz had warned that his country would respond forcefully to the firing of a missile, and the military said all originated from Yemen. Sirens sounded across parts of Israel, alerting residents to the attack and the launch of 2 projectiles from Gaza. All were intercepted by Israel defense systems. The missile launch marked the first attack by Iran-backed Houthi rebels since the end of the 12-day war initiated by Israel with Iran. Kate said Yemen could face the same as Tehran. Next this afternoon, child killer Lucy Letby could face more charges after police say they have uncovered evidence of further allegations relating to baby deaths and collapses at the hospitals where she worked. The evidence, police say, covers both the Countess of Chester Hospital, where she is already convicted of killing 7 babies and attempting to kill 7 more, as well as Liverpool Women's Hospital, where she worked previously. Cheshire Police say it has passed new evidence to lawyers at the Crown Prosecution Service, who will now evaluate whether to prosecute the former neonatal nurse. The number and exact nature of the potential new offences had not been made public yet, but it could take weeks before a decision is made on whether to charge Letby with more offences. In a statement, a CPS spokeswoman said that we can confirm that we have received a full file of evidence from Cheshire Constabulary, asking us to consider further allegations in relation to deaths and non-fatal collapses of babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital and Liverpool Women's Hospital. We will now carefully consider the evidence to determine whether any further criminal charges should be brought. As always, we will make that decision independently, based on the evidence and in line with our legal test. A spokeswoman for Cheshire Police said that we can confirm that Cheshire Constabulary has submitted a full file of evidence to the CPS for charging advice regarding the ongoing investigation into deaths of non-fatal collapses of babies at the neonatal units of both the Countess of Chester Hospital and the Liverpool Women's Hospital as part of Operation Hummingbird. It has been reported consideration of any new charges would involve the government's most senior lawyers, including Stephen Parkinson, the Director of Public Prosecutions, and Attorney General Lord Hermer KC. The news of potential fresh charges emerged hours after police confirmed 3 people who were part of the senior leadership team at the hospital where Letby worked had been arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. Cheshire Constabulary said that the suspects who occupied senior positions at the Countess of Chester Hospital between 2015 and 2016 were arrested on Monday. All 3 have been since bailed pending further inquiries, the force added. Letby, 35, from Hereford, is serving 15 whole life orders after she was convicted of murdering 7 infants and attempting to murder 7 others, with 2 attempts on one of her victims between June 2015 and June 2016. Police said corporate manslaughter and gross negligence manslaughter probes are continuing. Following the arrest, senior investigating officers, Detective Superintendent Paul Hughes said, in October 2023, following the lengthy trial and subsequent conviction of Lucy Letby, Cheshire Constabulary launched an investigation into corporate manslaughter at the Countess of Chester Hospital. This focuses on senior leadership and their decision making to determine whether any criminality was taking place concerning the response to the increased levels of fatalities. In March 2025, the scope of the investigation widened to include gross negligence manslaughter. This is a separate offence to the corporate manslaughter and focuses on grossly negligent action or inaction of individuals. It is important to note that this does not impact the convictions of Lucy Letby for multiple offences of murder and attempted murder. A spokeswoman for the COCH reiterated it would not be appropriate for the hospital to comment due to the Thirlwall inquiry and the ongoing police investigations. Finally, this lunchtime. Here is a scale of the government's humiliation on Tuesday night. A week ago down the street was warning any Labour MP who was thinking of not voting for the welfare reform that they would never get a job on the payroll. As late as Wednesday, the Treasury insisted there will be no backing down. On Tuesday, Angela Rayner and Liz Kendall were ringing around Labour MPs asking frantically what it would take to secure their votes. In the end, and at their last moment, the government announced there would be 0 cuts in PIP for the foreseeable future. The rebels got everything they wanted. The run for the bill spends money on uprating universal credit on work coaches. It doesn't save a penny. Even so, a staggering 49 Labour MPs voted against it, presumably because they simply don't trust Starmer and Reeves. And poor Rachel Reeves in her autumn budget somehow has to find not just the £5 billion she lost with this radical surgery on the welfare bill, but countless billions more if she is to meet her self-imposed fiscal targets. The respected NISR says she's just £57 billion shy of the balance. But the real damage is something else. The disability bill for the government has been raising unsustainably fast. Maybe some of that can be fixed as and when the NHS is fixed, or if an effective nationwide system of work coaches is established. But it's remotely plausible that after the soon-to-be established Tim's review of eligibility criteria for disability payments reports in the 16 or 17 months, that the PM will risk taking a penny away from any vulnerable person. Can't find anyone close to him who thinks that kind of money-saving welfare reform is still alive in practice. The true scale of this fiscal and political catastrophe is that if the government has reviewed the PIP and UC framework before announcing the targets for cuts, there might as well have been scope to make serious savings. But in announcing that quantified savings were the Prime Minister motivator, the Treasury in Downing Street gave Labour MPs an important cause, one that trumps partially loyalty, and that they have now closed down any prospect for Starmer of curbing the growth of welfare budget for the foreseeable future. That's funny, you can make a drama out of all that situation. And that is it this lunchtime. I will be back with the evening news at 6:30. The news where you are follows the national weather, but from all of us here this lunchtime, goodbye.